Hello there, and welcome to this episode of Ignition Time. A lot of things going on in DC today in the world of stimulus. Let's just jump right in. On your screen, you'll see a headline from Politico: Bad politics for them as Republicans sneer at the massive $1.9 trillion stimulus package. Some very strong comments are emerging from the Republicans. Freshman Congresswoman Nancy Mace, who's a Republican from South Carolina, said this: "It's total BS, the package we're getting." She said, "I'm a single working mom who is working her tail off, desperate to get her kids educated. And I see the Biden administration is opening up the border, but not opening up our schools. How is this putting our kids first?" And if you thought that was interesting, here's an interesting comment from none other than Lindsey Graham, the senator from South Carolina, a good friend of former President Donald Trump. And this is what Lindsey Graham said. He said, "What's in it is not going to be popular. It's bad politics for them because the narrative is that they're liberal, they just spend money like there's no tomorrow, that every time there's a crisis, they load it up with spending." And while all this drama is unfolding in DC, President Biden is staying busy. He's expected to sign an executive order today fixing critical supply chain issues. Here's the headline of an article on your screen on CNN: Biden to order review of cracks in critical supply chain. So what President Biden is going to do, he'll direct his team via executive order to conduct a review to determine which products are used by Americans in day-to-day lives or that are necessary to keep the country safe, and try and fix the supply chain issues so that we can try and manufacture them locally, nationally, instead of depending on foreign countries for those products. And semiconductors and chips and precious metals, which are used in the phones that we use, is one example. In fact, these chips are not only used inside cars, there are certain minerals called rare earth minerals that are used in flat screen televisions, in phones, in iPads, in all the devices we use, in computers that we use, batteries in electric vehicles, and ingredients in life-saving medicines. So this is something that President Biden is hoping to fix via executive order that he's expected to sign today. And as all this is happening, the House Speaker Pelosi, has said that the Democrats in the House of Representatives are expected to pass the massive $1.9 trillion American Rescue Plan this Friday. We expect that to happen in 48 hours. Here's the headline of an article from CNBC. House Democrats aim to pass the $1.9 trillion stimulus plan in the next 48 hours. And House Speaker Pelosi has basically said that they're going to get it done despite all the opposition from the Republicans, who are questioning the need for the massive $1.9 trillion stimulus plan. The biggest problem that the Republicans have is that this is a wish list from progressives. So here's a quote from Kevin McCarthy, the leader of the House of Representatives for the Republicans. He said, "A lot within this bill is a waste or a wish list from the progressives." Let's take a look at a quick segment from Kevin McCarthy on CNBC and hear what he had to say. Remember, this is the leader of the Republican Party in the House of Representatives, just like the Senate Minority Leader Mitch McConnell is the leader of the Republican Party in the United States Senate. Let's hear from Kevin McCarthy. Let's roll the tape.
In the state of the GOP, House Minority Leader Kevin McCarthy. Leader McCarthy, it's good to see a big piece in the, yeah, you probably, I don't know if you read it yet, in the Wall Street Journal op-ed pages from Senator Romney, Mitt Romney. I mean, when you lose Romney, with the Democrat. When you lose Romney, I mean, so there must be something wrong with this bill. Biden's stimulus bill is a $1.9 trillion clunker. He makes a lot of points here, one of which is that $700 billion wouldn't even be spent until after the end of this year, wouldn't be spent until 2022 or after. So how is that immediately fighting COVID? It was his point.
Well, it's not fighting COVID because only 9% of this bill goes towards COVID, towards testing, vaccines, or others. $1.7 trillion is for everything else. I mean, think for a moment. This is what the problem lies. We've done 5 COVID bills bipartisan. This is the first one that the Democrats just want to do by themselves. And to get the votes, what are they doing? They're putting in a special project for Nancy Pelosi, $100 million for Silicon Valley Fail Rail Project, or a bridge for Schumer. We're watching that the money that's going for schools aren't even being spent. 95% of it won't be spent this year. So will schools even open? You've got more than $60 billion sitting there for schools that were already appropriated. You've got $1 trillion still sitting there that we appropriated that have not gone out. A lot within this bill is a waste or a wish list from the progressives, and I think that's why they're going to have difficulty even making sure all the Democrats vote for it. It's very similar to when Barack Obama came in and they passed that stimulus bill by themselves. And remember what happened at the end of the day a year later. More people thought Elvis was alive than the stimulus created a job. But unfortunately, this is going to do real damage to America, putting this much money out there in a time that it's not smart or surgical to do it.
Isn't that interesting from Kevin McCarthy? He said only 9% of the entire stimulus package goes towards the pandemic. The rest of the money is going to be spent well into the future. A lot of that money is going to be spent next year. Pretty strong comments from Kevin McCarthy. He also said this bill will damage America. Well, he's not done yet. Kevin McCarthy also said that we need to get back to work, we need to get back to school, and we need to get back to health. Those should be the three main priorities. And he said this stimulus bill is not targeted. Money is not going to those who need it the most. Now, if you hear comments from Brian Deese, the director of the White House Economic Council, he said this is progressively structured to help the bottom half of income earners. But then if you listen to Kevin McCarthy, he says the money is not going to those who need it the most. Folks, you be the judge. First, let's roll the tape and hear from Kevin McCarthy as he expresses his misgivings, his continued misgivings, as all the Republicans do, about this $1.9 trillion American Rescue Plan. And after we watch that, I'll shed some light on this interesting secret memo that was actually released by ABC News. Let's roll the tape and hear first from Kevin McCarthy.
I think the three things we need to do: back to work, back to school, back to health. So I would spend more money on COVID. I wouldn't reward states. What they're doing is they're reversing the order of how they provide resources to the states. Those that actually shut down get more money. California just came out with a $10 billion surplus, and they're going to get the biggest chunk of the money. But states with low unemployment that stayed open are actually going to be in a negative ability of receiving resources. So I would focus, and I would give incentives to open up schools. I would give incentives for COVID vaccines and others. I would give incentives that this country starts working again. And I would be more surgical, because when they just put out these checks, there's going to be people that have high income but aren't working at that time that are receiving them, and those who really need it are not. And to go back on to small businesses that's been hurt the worst through all of this, to raise a minimum wage that isn't based upon locality, is only going to do more damage and more job losses. We don't need another study. We know what happened in Washington. When Seattle, which is wealthy, they lost jobs when they raised it. We watched in Long Beach, two grocery stores, they closed once they said give them $4 more for working during the pandemic. This is real economic problems that they're going to hurt the lowest income, and this isn't going to those who need it.
In fact, the stakes are very high for President Biden. According to a new headline that you see on your screen from the New York Times, this week's confirmation, because there are some confirmation fights going on, and stimulus will reveal how the next 2 years will go for the Biden administration. Why is the Biden administration so focused on pushing this through with reconciliation? Well, according to the New York Times, the animating spirit behind the administration's approach is impatience, born of the pandemic, the looming midterms, very interesting, and Mr. Biden's own bitter experiences with Republicans during President Barack Obama's administration. Pretty fascinating confluence of events that are influencing the thinking of President Biden and the push for the $1.9 trillion stimulus plan. And according to a new memo, which was actually leaked, a new memo that was reported by ABC News, you'll see this headline on your screen: Biden White House memo reveals strategy to pressure Republicans on stimulus relief. So basically, an advisor to the president wrote something in a memo that was very revealing. So in the memo, White House senior advisor Mike Donnellan wrote, there seems to be a growing conventional wisdom that it is either politically smart or at worst cost-free for the Republicans to adopt an obstructionist, partisan base politics posture. This is very interesting. You've heard me talk about this before. Politics is about timing, it's opportunity, and it's about tribalism. It's about partisanship. It's about us against them. It's about taking sides. That's exactly what the White House senior advisor is talking about. But what's interesting is that he goes on to say, however, there is lots of evidence that the opposite is true, that it isn't not politically smart for the Republicans to be going down this road. And rather than being cost-free, this approach has been quite damaging to them. So as you can see, this entire stimulus discussion is not just about putting checks in people's pockets. It's about doing more long-term damage to the other side. And it's about trying to win the midterms. And it's about scarring from past experiences. Let me know what you think in the comment section below about the current status of what's going on between both sides. I know you've come to expect high quality content from me, and that will always continue. All I ask is you please click the like button, please subscribe, please enable notifications. I promise you that President Biden would appreciate it. In fact, I can also tell you that the House Minority Leader, Kevin McCarthy, would appreciate it. There he is. So you have President Biden right here, and you have the House Minority Leader, Kevin McCarthy. I assure you, both of them watch Ignition Time. Well, at least I hope they do. And both of them click the like button whenever they watch, and I'm asking you to click the like button too. Thank you so much. Please subscribe, please enable notifications. I'm looking forward to seeing you in the next episode of Ignition Time. Take care. Bye.